Hey guys, VaulSC here. How are you going? It's time to take a look at another infiNity bat rep, this time between the O12, my boys, and French Ariadna. It's like the old versus the new. You got the brand new sectorial. It's me hitting the table with them for the first time. I've already played them once in TDS. It'll be my first live game up against very regular opponent who normally plays Pano, dusting off his French Ariadna to give them a bit of a spin, and it will be on the mission tactical window. As I've hit the record button for this video, we're just responding to the new army updates. All tags have got tactical awareness now. Wild Bill can go on core links. It's all a bit nutty. I might do a bit more of a reaction video running down what I think are some of the changes after I've had time to process them. As usual, it seems a bit ham-fisted from CB, trying to fix certain things or buff certain things just by doing a blanket approach to it. My initial reaction is that I don't like it, but of course my initial reaction is going to be like that to a lot of things. I think we all know that by now, so we'll get around to that. But let's talk about this game that's going to be between O12 and French Ariadna. So let's go through the lists first. It's going to be on my custom mission tactical awareness, and we'll talk about that in a moment, but I'm going to bring up the lists. So here is the list that I'm going with for O12. This list is more about the numbers. It's more about what is O12 capable of when you take the cheap, efficient stuff and don't bother to include the, the Gammas of this world and the Zeta and the Omega squad. So we'll go through it. Group 1, serious bot team, really powerful on the upper strike if they don't crumble. So if they get hit by some sort of mine or crazy koala, not so much worth it. But if you can find the right angles, they're quite efficient. We're always talking about how O12 seem to have some of the Pano profiles, but better. I just want to point out that this is a faction that can't take a Bulleteer, and they have no attack bot, so you've got to rely on stuff like the Serious bot for that midfield, push out with that, Spitfire Red type gun. And although the Serious bot is very good, I really don't think that he's as good for his points as the Bulleteer with Assisted Fire is, for sure. So that's one area you're missing out in. I'd love it if this faction had more of those really fast attacking options. The Serious is one of the best choices we've got at the moment, plus the Dakini HMG, who of course is also going to be in the list, but I wouldn't mind a little bit more, and I think as the faction gets updated down the track, that's something I'm going to be looking for. Obvious Lambda Doctor with the Epsilon, obviously that's going to work in tandem, and the Varangians in the list, of course, to throw the smoke for the Upsilon multi-sniper. Last game I took like 3 long-range guns. This time I'm just taking the one arrow for the long-range. Gangbuster Killer Hacker. Only regret with this list that I'm not taking 2 Gangbusters. I don't know what faction I'm up against as I'm making this list up, so there is that, but both the Killer Hacker and the regular Combi Rifle are really good versions of the profile. Obvious baggage bots, if you want to go for a spam list, you need to have them in there. The Kappa Lieutenant is a bit of an eyebrow raiser here because the Alpha is so much better, especially if you're planning on going first, but again, not sure if I'm taking first turn or not, and secondarily, I wanted to see if I could squeeze in even more things with the extra points that I'm saving by downgrading to the Lieutenant for the Kappa, and I'm not spending that many SWCs in this list, so you can afford the 1 SWC for the Kappa. It's just not very efficient. Most of my lists are going to have that Alpha in it though. Now here's a really interesting one, the Delta. I was studying the Delta, and when I first saw the profile, I'm thinking, okay, it's Spitfire, my favorite. Then after I started analyzing it a bit more, I went to the Combi Light Right Stopper, because then you can land them, you can shoot something, if they are just going to shoot back, you can Light Right Stopper them instead, and you might be able to immobilize a really juicy target. But then I noticed the boarding shotgun Panzerfaust, and initially it doesn't look like a very good or interesting profile, but I started to consider it more and more. And here's what I came up with. With the Delta, if you want to go for that control jump, drop in some obscure place, and go for the shot, the boarding shotgun's going to be the best profile because you're going to land next to them, and you might be able to find a juicy target to light up 2 or 3 models at once and really get super value out of your drop. If you fail the drop because you roll too high or they win with the hack transport, you might scatter off the table. But the thing is, this one profile that happens to have a long-range gun suddenly can do something on the games where you scatter off the board. In the same way that the Daylami, if it fails its inferior infiltration, you've got it somewhere on your side of the table where it can fire its Panzerfaust, and that is really important to me. I want to have a unit that's going to provide value in a wide range of situations and across lots and lots of games, not just one game. So with this, you can spend that 23 points, not very expensive, just dropping him. He's either going to get into a fantastic location and do more than 23 points worth of damage, or he's going to land at the back and at least provide an order of return and at least have that Panzerfaust ready to go. Occasionally, you'll scatter, you'll land in front of some enemy guns, he'll die, but that won't happen as often as those two other scenarios. So I'm really looking forward to trying that particular profile out over a range of different games. Razor Hacker, I feel like my list overall can be a bit weak against maybe just a really brutal drive up the board with a tag or heavy infantry link team. Some of my arrows start folding pretty fast, but with the Razor Hacker and with lots of repeaters scattered around my deployment zone, that can be a really good surprise. I love the Razor for the midfield presence, especially good for any sort of button pressing missions, and this mission is going to involve button pressing with tactical awareness. So giving him a go, although to be honest, the Forward Observer is the better profile a lot of the time. Kappa Hacker, of course, obviously for assisted fire on the Dakini TAC bot and controlled jump. Varangians galore, you want them. Monstrucker, I think, is a really good combo with the Dakini TAC bot, because you want an engineer, and if the engineer is only doing that, repairing on the Dakini, then you want it as cheap as possible. Monstrucker is cheaper than the Lambda, and the thing about the irregular order is you can either convert that to a regular to spend somewhere else in Group 2, maybe on the Delta, or you can defend your deployment zone with that drop bear, and of course the chain rifle, which is great, and of course spare Warcore at the back. So a very robust list, almost 20 individual models there, which is great. My opponent playing French Ariadna, really unfamiliar with his sectorial, don't know much about them. Let's see what his approach to them is. And by the way, this is an army link code courtesy of my opponent, gracious enough to spoil you guys in YouTube chat land. Okay, the Loup-Garou Fireteam Harris. Note that he has set his list up in such a way that he can swap the Harris link over to the Briscards, who are there with the marksman rifles and heavy rocket launchers. The Loup-Garous, it's really about the viral rifles and adhesive launcher. Unfortunately, they don't have a long-range gun, so I don't particularly love this setup personally. Looking at what they can take, I think it's a better choice to drop this viral rifle and add a sniper rifle in, because you've got the extra 0.5 SWCs, and if you're going to be spending that many points on a link, you want to cover as many range bands as you can. You don't want to move out and then suddenly be beaten by something that can shoot back from further than 16 inches away, just like some random flash pulse, whereas the sniper rifle definitely encourages that. Yes, you've got an X-Visor, but it's better to have +3 range rather than 0 range band, which is what you get with the X-Visor, and the sniper rifle is again going to do better. 3 shots in a sniper rifle, BS-12, it's sort of what you want, right? So that would be my suggestion there. Otherwise, Loup-Garous are kind of interesting. Viral rifles can be very deadly. Metro link here, it's the calling. It's cheap as chips. It allows you to afford all the chasseurs, so I don't mind this. I don't think there's any reason to pack them out with a lot of expensive gear. They're there to be cheerleaders. They're there really just for the, sometimes a push out with a specialist and maybe a few HMG bursts. Triple chasseur in the Group 2 plus the chasseur in Group 1. We were talking about this during the game. 2 Forward Observers and 2 Mine Layers is a quite good way to do it. It helps to disguise which ones are mines, which ones are not. You don't really need more than 2 Forward Observers when you're pressing buttons. They're very, very powerful. And the chasseur being just such an amazing, amazing model. Probably the best thing about French Ariadna is the availability of these guys. Because 6 Sense Level 1 means that when you move somebody into line of sight of them, if it's within 8 inches, the chasseur can delay, and if you attempt to discover, it will just shoot you for free. And the only real way to sort of get a leg up on them is to try and throw smoke and do an intuitive attack or something like that. It's really difficult. Or even smoke first, just discover through the smoke with MSV2, but it can be hard to set up if they're entrenched in a total cover situation. So Chasseur's really, really strong, and if you're serious about playing French Ariadna for some reason, then you should be relying on these guys. And to be honest, 4 on your list is probably the way to go with most lists. The Brisk Guards, I find it amazing these guys have assault pistols and MSV1, so they are pretty cool. They are a little bit expensive though, and they can fold a little bit if something decent's shooting at them. So yeah, I think this is what's taking up a huge amount of points in this list. Note that for that 75 odd points, you could be going and grabbing, what are these guys called? The Mirage team. I was surprised that he didn't take them, but when you look at what you have to spend on them, like 71 points for that little duo, I don't know. There's definitely a case for not taking them, but I think a lot of French Ariadna players do like these guys. But that's sort of what you do, right? You drop the Brisk Guard team, you'd have them in there, and you just have a smaller group too. But for this particular game, my opponent wants to have more men on the ground, more Brisk Guards, and that's what's going to happen. I don't know how the Mirage team would have gone against my 012 list. It sort of depends on the situation, doesn't it? Righty, so let's have a look at the game. In fact, just before we do, I'm just going to bring this over here. I have just started assembling my 012 models, as you can see, and the model's going really nicely. I rather quite like the new sculpted line of sight markings on the side of their bases. I think this is fantastic. I've already started going with the very caramel-coloured, deserty-coloured bases and going for dark blue. I know it's kind of Pano-ish, but I'm going to be highlighting them with little pink lighting and some lilac mixed in, and it will be very dark blue rather than, you know, a sky-popping blue that Pano-Oceania tend to have. Right, tactical windows. So you guys may have played this mission, you may have read about it, you may have seen some other bat reps which feature it. Tactical awareness is a really cool mission because it doesn't work on end of round scoring or end of game scoring. You've still got the quadrants just like you do in Supremacy, and you've still got the 4 objectives in the middle of the quadrants. But here's how it works. You get +1 objective point per player turn that you have more objectives captured, but not the first turn of the game and not the last turn of the game. So if you are going first and your opponent just has nothing in the midfield because they've got no forward deployment of any kind, you can move up and you can control one zone by having more points in it, and then you can control this zone by having more points in it, and you can control this zone by having more points in it. But at the end of your turn, you don't score because the very first game of the very first turn of the game's not counted. Then your opponent can come in and they can take this back, and they can grab this one, and they can take this one back, and they will score a point, but they have to work for it. You've been given a chance to put you guys in the midfield, your opponent attacks back, and they will be rewarded with a point by doing that, but they have to commit some of their troops. Then in your turn, you can attack them back, and there are those 4 middling turns. Player 2's first turn, player 1's second turn, player 2's second turn, player 1's third turn, and so on. But the last game round is also not scored because that's a turn where one player can move through and leave troops in the middle with no retaliation. So it's all about how much stuff do you commit to the middle. Note that you can only get a maximum of 4 points from doing that. The rest of the points come from the consoles. Now the consoles that you're trying to get depend on which player goes first or second. If you're deploying here, and you're taking the first turn, you'll be going for this objective and this objective. But if you're going second, you'll be going for these two. So when you're picking table side, and this really matters, you're going to be able to determine, you know, what part of the terrain you're setting up on. But if you're choosing turn order, you're going to get to decide who's going for which consoles, which is a bit different. You get 2 consoles for the one closest to you and 2 for the one further away from you, and your opponent cannot retake them. So swooping in first or waiting to grab them later in the game is inconsequential so long as you get them, because that's a full 4 points. It's very significant, and if you don't commit to actually pressing the buttons, you'll get punished. So this mission's a really wonderfully balanced mission because it's partly about killing things. You do get 1 point for killing more stuff. It's partly about objective grabbing, because if you don't do that, you miss out on 4 points. And it's partly about ball control and committing guys to zones. It's fantastic for expensive models. There's one classified as well, just since when I designed this mission, I wanted to, you know, have some familiar stuff in the mission as a bit of a gimme to some players, but realistically I would drop that and incorporate maybe a data tracker somehow. So that is Tactical Awareness. Click the link in the video description if you want to go to the Google Drive folder where you can playtest my custom missions. Okay, so I am choosing first turn right off the bat for this game. My opponent's picking the side that he wants. I'm going to be deploying here. I'm going to have a bunch of guys in this building here. So we're going to have an Upsilon sniper with the doctor nearby to him, the Kappa hacker on the top, baggage bot at the back, flash pulse here, Varangian on the side, my HVT is over there. This is a hidden deployment location of my Razor. He's going to be going around here to this objective, which is quite hard to grab. Then the Gangbuster is going to be taking this one here in the forest. Note that he's brought two Mad Traps there and there. We've got my Hacker down here, Warcore at the back, another baggage bot, and another Varangian over this side. And then, of course, there'll be some guys inside the building, the Dakini, the Monstrucker, and another Varangian. So there it is there, hidden deployment location of the Razor. This is a side view of the table and a close look at my deployment zone. So this Upsilon standing up, getting a pretty good view of the right-hand flank. Inside the building, Monstrucker, Dakini HMG, and Varangian, represented by, of course, the Shalon Monks. Good approximation. Left-hand side or middle, you can see the Warcore there and his buddies. And we've got the Gangbuster towards the midfield, ready to take this objective through the forest. Note that he's starting in contact with the forest so that he's not slowed down by it when he grabs the objective. Extreme left-hand flank with a couple of Varangians and Flash Pulse bot. Zoom in on the Upsilon, of course, and then over to my opponent. So this is his left-hand flank. He's got a Briscard with heavy rocket launcher there and his HVT in the extreme corner, and the other Briscard nearby. I think he's going to be putting down some sort of reserve trooper Briscard nearby to them, which will form a Harris with them later. The Loot Gurus. Oh, I've accidentally gone for some sort of edit. Let's just get back to where I was. That was clumsy. Here we are. Okay. Let's click the correct button now. Okay, that was the other Briscard. He's put his mechanized HMG on top of the roof, and that looks kind of scary. Like, I'm thinking, damn, it's good that I've got first turn, otherwise that position would be quite compromising. So when I saw that, I thought maybe I might try landing the Delta on the rooftop. We'll see. So he's got a couple of mine layers around here. This model is actually going to be a Fort Observer, but we played it as a mine layer. We'll come back to that situation in a moment. Loop Gurus back here and back here. He's got a couple of them. I think the third one's going to be showing up in a bit. And then there's just another look at the building with the mine layers, Loop Gurus. So he's got three of them all in a team here on this white cardboard box. And on his right-hand flank, all of the core troopers. What are these guys called again? Metros, that's right. So Metros with the Warcore as well. He's placing his Warcore in such a way that the Warcore is going to get line of sight specifically to where the Gangbuster needs to be. So he's just prepping for that to make it harder for me to press the button. Inside this right-hand flank building, he's got another mine-laying chasseur. And then here's my reserve trooper. It's the Sirius team getting ready to shoot the Warcore straight away and then move up on the flank that doesn't feature as many of the mines and hope to get some kills possibly onto his link team or bust some of the chasseurs open. His reserve trooper, Briscard, as we thought, so that's going to be able to form a link later in the game. Okay, so first turn, just Impetuous moves with the Varangians. I love the fact they've got regular Impetuous, so you don't have to Impetuous them, but if you see an opportunity to move them up the board where they are more comfortable, you get to do that for free and throw the smokes for free, which I find really, really helpful. So there they are, moving in and just getting to position where the Sirius trooper can fire at the Warcore, but the bot doesn't come in line of sight of the Warcore. Warcore does take some hits, but miraculously survives the Red Fury and actually ducks into cover, which was kind of irritating, but at least I've got him out of the way so that the Gangbus can take that objective. In this mission, you kind of want to take the objectives while you still have the specialists to do so. If you somehow run out of ways to get to the objective, or your opponent forces you to spend too many orders doing it in the late game, it's really going to hurt you strategically. So now we have the Sirius team moving up, and this model is going to just be advancing, but not into line of sight of the chasseur, but this guy is. And the point is that because he's got 6 sense level 1, he can just delay, and that will mean if I do anything with this bot, the bot will die. But the bait is set. If he just goes after my bot, it'll allow me to move the Sirius team over here and fire at the chasseur, hopefully out of heavy flamethrower range, and kill him. Does he have a heavy flamethrower or a light flamethrower? I forget. Light flamethrower, yeah, that's fortunate. Otherwise, the heavy would probably get me. So I'm trying to bait him into just revealing and shooting the bot for free so I can kill him. What he does do instead is actually drop a mine. Now, my opponent confessed to me later on in the game that this particular model that he intended to deploy there and just, kept track of actually wasn't one of the mine layers. And if we look at Army, the Chasseur Forward Observer, although it can lay mines, wouldn't have had a mine nearby to him in the building. So that may have come up later, but we decided to let it slide, right? So places the mine, and the serious bot goes for a bit of a nasty stanky breath riot stopper, and immobilizes the Chasseur, which is great. I'll take that outcome. This does free up the Gangbuster to go over to the objective and control the objective, so that's +2 victory points to me, which I can't lose now, and then hide back in the blue boxes. Sirius does continue moving out, doesn't have to worry about the Chasseur anymore because he's immobilized. The mine goes off, blowing up the riot bot, I'm going to call them, but is just barely out of range of the Sirius Trooper. Sirius Trooper now moving out onto the building and will be able to target this model in the distance here. So this is one way of me eliminating one of his Link members, which means the Link's going to be much weakened in later turns. Also strips him of an order, and then moving through here to fire at the Warcore. Again, somehow not managing to kill the Warcore. Firing at this guy as well. His Link team is reduced now. He's only Bliss skill 10. He's only a 4-man Link team. I've got Mimetism and a Red Fury, and just lighting them up, but somehow managed to get a little bit unlucky here, and the Metro shoots me with a rifle at some point, which is kind of irritating. I even stood up at this point, fired 3 shots at the Metro, 1 into the Warcore, and got hit and killed. So a little bit unlucky. The thing is though, when you're rolling out in your first turn and you're expecting to be in a lot of situations where your opponent's got maybe a 5 to 15% chance of killing me, but not much more than that, but you're doing that again and again and again, then they're going to get you eventually. So it shouldn't really surprise you to lose your attacking piece at some point throughout the turn, even though individually each face-to-face roll was quite strong for the active player. Here it is. Okay, control jump goes up. The Delta flies down here. I feel like this is the best target, because if I don't shoot this model here, he's going to really be in an annoying situation with his HMG where I just can't leave any models out in the open. I already have got some models out in the open, so this guy's going to be a real pain. If I can't deal with him now, I'm going to have to start hiding things. A much better way to do it is to shoot him. Second reason I want to do this is that if the Delta lands successfully and kills him, the Delta stays on the rooftop and is actually going to be in one of the enemy zones for the rest of the game unless he gets killed. So I'm going to be able to lend his 23 points to one of the zones or the other, meaning my opponent has to put enough stuff in there and leave it there to avoid me getting points in the turns where he's supposed to be scoring. So this happens. Now, French Ariadna don't have a hacker. The Delta only needs a 15 or less to land, and does land. So he's going to be able to come in here and blast this guy in the back with a shotgun, which is enough to destroy him, obviously. Elsewhere, the Monstrucker throwing a drop bear in the doorway. I still, for some reason, I'm worried about the Mirage team, because I don't play the French Ariadna very often. I haven't managed to add up the points and determine that he can't have them in there. So I'm just throwing this at the back of my line in case they show up from somewhere. So that's happened. And then we're moving into the building on the left with one of the Varangian guards, and again, it's difficult. If I move into line of sight of his Chasseur, he can just delay. The first one is a mine, so the Varangian moves in to dodge the mine at a physical 14, -3 for deployables. That's 11 or less to dodge, and then he's got an armor save. So the chances of him surviving it are good. I'm going in for it anyway. Bit risky, but it pays off. He does manage the dodge. Then he moves around into range of the camo marker. Enemy can just delay. I go for a dodge again, which means that he gets a free action, whether it's to flamethrower me or shoot me or lay a mine. Does go for laying the mine. I feel personally that his best bet would probably be to just shoot me, to be honest. Just since he can face-to-face against the dodge that way. But the mine goes down, and then, although I didn't take a photo of it, the Varangian guard just idling, taking the mine hit, and firing the SMG point blank. That is enough to kill the Chasseur, although the mine is enough to kill the Varangian. So it's a trade. I've traded several orders plus one Varangian for an entire Chasseur, which is important to me because I don't want that Chasseur controlling that building and flanking me. I don't really have that much to defend around that side of the table, and he might eventually gun down my Gangbuster, which I don't want. Elsewhere, he moves through the middle of the table. And this is his turn now. So turn 1 for French Ariadna. He has a Chasseur in the building somewhere. Note that and we've forgotten about this, there's a mad trap over there within range. So as he moves out and the walker goes for discover, if he attempts a rifle shot from this point, the mad trap is going to go onto him, but we forgot the mad trap was there, so we played on, and this happened. The chasseur shows up, has a go at the walker, does manage to hit the walker fails his courage check and ducks behind cover, meaning this guy's got free reign. The Upsilon sniper doesn't have line of sight to him, and I don't want to reveal my Razor hacker too early. So now he's coming after me. Unfortunately for me, he's moved the chasseur round through to here, hugging the cover, getting to this point where he can fire at the Upsilon sniper. So I thought about it carefully, and I thought, well, I could just try and dodge, or I could shoot back, and I felt like his range wasn't the best for the flamethrower. So I decided to shoot at him. He did opt to fire the flamethrower at this point, and it was really close on range. Like, we really sat there for a while trying to carefully figure out if it was in or not, and after all, a lot of tinkering around, we ended up deciding just to roll a dice for it. 50-50 chance that it was out of range or going to hit me, and the dice came up that it was going to be in range, and because I opted to shoot him, I did have to take the hit. I was hoping I didn't fail both saves, because then the doctor can revive him. Unfortunately, I did fail both saves, and that is a dead Upsilon. But, silver lining, the double action round does hit home and takes out the chasseur. So he's traded his chasseur for the Upsilon sniper. It's a good trade for him. He took a bit of a risk doing it, but at least I got his chasseur back, right? So then he has another chasseur, which was on the second floor of this building. Initially, he was going to go up to take on the Delta, right? Because he can go up to the third level. But he decides against it and climbs down here, and he's going to go after the deployment zone, which has just been softened up by the loss of the Upsilon. So he's charging across here again. There's no walker watching the table. There is a Razor trooper around here. But again, I don't want to reveal a Razor to purely be heavy flamed, right? So he walks all the way around here. This camo marker is just representing the start location of his model as he presses the button. He does succeed in pressing the button, so that's plus 2 points to him. That's really important because he's grabbing the objective further towards the other side of the table, very important. Then he's walking over here, and he's going to plant a mine in the doorway, or maybe like further around here, I should say. Meaning that if I activate my Varangian or my Monstrucker, the mine's going to go off and just completely crush me. In the meantime, on the other side of the table, my other Varangian is seeing long range that I'm in trouble, throws a smoke grenade over the gangbuster. This is because I don't want the chasseur shooting the gangbuster in the back, and that's what would have happened if the turn had gone on too long. So Varangian throwing the smoke grenade over there before that becomes possible, just to conserve my gangbuster, because I really want to keep that gangbuster in place. He's going to be useful for scoring, and he's still holding on to those mad traps. So here we go, the mine is placed in the doorway, and the chasseur then moves back outside of the doorway, and that's going to really suppress me in my position there. If I just try to move out, I'm going to have to think of a more creative way to detonate the mine, otherwise these guys are really going to take it. Last order of this group on this chasseur opts to go into camo state again. And that is when I finally choose the moment to spring the trap and strike. And I really had to think hard about this one. If I reveal this Razor too early and he dies, I won't have a decent specialist in position to go over his side of the board and take that objective, and that's worth a good 2 points. So I can't really give that up, because throughout the game, we're going to be trading blows with objective zones, and we're expected to get 2 points each out of that. So to be down 2 points from the objectives could be the end. However, this free shot means that, first of all, I deny him the ability to go back into marker state. He's got no more points to spend on the chasseur. If I do kill him, that's a huge bonus for me, a huge win for me. And thirdly, it puts the Razor on the table, and it puts his points in that zone when my opponent was expecting to have more zones than me. So that's really crucial. My opponent's gone from thinking that he's going to get plus 1 point for that turn to losing a point to me for that turn. And that kind of swing in infiNity and objective scoring in ITS is huge. So this pays off. The bullet does hit home, the chasseur does die, and the Razor is gloriously victorious, and he has very few orders left to punish that play, which is great. Elsewhere, though, he does move out with his Metro. I don't have anything watching this side of the table. Metro moves over to his objective. He does press the button, and that means that he's got 4 objective points in play now. I can't take those back. I've designed this mission so it's not about like waiting to the end of the game to retrieve the objectives. It's just about getting around to doing them at some point, and that's what's important. Loop Guru's repositioning, and seeing that I've lost my sniper, I've lost this, I've lost that. He's putting his Loop Gurus in places where they can help defend. And what he's hoping to do at this point is base a strategy around stopping me from getting the objective on his side of the table to deny me that extra 2 points. Because currently he's up 4-2 on objectives, but I'm about to go +1 on the zones, which is pretty cool. Actually, no, it's going to be a draw for his first turn, because I retain my 2 zones and he controls his 2 zones. I do have the Delta on the building, but he's got more than enough points in that particular zone when you combine the Metro plus the Chasseur who's immobilized. That's another detriment. A downside of having riot stopping weapons is that you don't actually kill the model, so its points still count, it ought to still count, things like that. On to O12 turn 2. Now we're moving out. So this Dakini's got a lot of work to do. Assisted fire goes down onto him from the Kappa, and the Dakini's moving out of the building with a vengeance. He's coming into line of sight of this Metro here, and the Metro here, which is stood up with his HMG. Luckily, the Dakini outclasses both of them. It's got mimetism, it's got good range, it's got assisted fire. These guys are only BS10. They have lost the 5th member of their team. I was so overconfident here, I split the burst, even though it might not have been a good idea. I probably should have come around to here and shot the first Metro first, and then moved in, shot the second one. But anyway, it does pay off. The HMG rips them apart. I actually kill them both in the same order, and happy days. This now allows me to push a little bit further into the middle of the table. We're going to go for the car here to gain cover, and the plan is to fire crossfield over onto this guy, take out his heavy rocket launcher. Then we're going to start charging into this area to take out this Loop Guru here on the building. Sorry, my camera is actually obscuring the position of that brisk guard up the top here, so that's where I'm going to be trying to shoot at first. Note, of course, Delta's still on the roof, looking happy. Really loving that Delta. So in he comes, fires his HMG, rips through. Unfortunately, Briskguard gets a bit lucky here and kills him with his heavy rocket launcher. Sadness. Getting a little bit unlucky there, but hey, I've been fairly lucky with some of the other rolls in this game, so I'm going to take it on the chin. That's one of the things about this list, though. When you spread your list over like 19 models, you know, the stuff that actually has teeth is sort of far and few between. You don't exactly have like a Gamma HMG who can survive this kind of thing and keep shooting. So that's that. Dakini goes down. The Razor hanging around here, thinking carefully about what to do. It's only turn 2, and I feel like if I try now to shoot long range at some of the Loop Gurus against the Briskguards with MSV1, if I die, my Doctor's a bit too far away. The smarter, safer play, I feel, is to go back into TO camo state and wait it out, and that's what happens. Lieutenant order being spent to move my Kappa into the zone nearby, and that's because previously the Upsilon was in the friendly quadrant with forward deployment level 1 for being medium infantry. He's dead now, and also I'm thinking of moving my Razor at some point, so just preventively setting up the Kappa in the zone so that if I leave the zone with other troopers, there's still going to be something there to provide its points. The Delta now, making a bit of a play, realizing that now that I can't use the Dakini, and because I don't want to use the Razor, I'm making a bit of a play here where the Delta moves to the wall, stands up from the wall, and fires his boarding shotgun at mid-range at that Loop Guru. Now bear in mind that this guy's bliss skill is 12, and he'll have 2 dice, right, from medium range. I think this is about, 13 inches away. Loop Guru only has a single dice, but it's +3 range, -3 cover, so he's going to be on 12s on 1 dice. Of course, the Viral is going to make quick work of me if it wins, but this is a fairly even trade-off. Note that the Delta, similar number of points as the Loop Guru as far as I recall. In fact, I don't recall. Let's have a look. 21 points for him, and 23 points for the Delta, so similar. If he wins, I lose my model in the zone, but he wasn't doing anything anyway because my opponent's got enough points to stop that. If I win, as I'm likely to, it makes it way harder for him to defend that side of the table, and I can bring the Razor around a bit more comfortably. So I decided this was a risk that I was willing to take. And ended up not paying off because the Loot Guru wins and the Delta dies, but you can sort of see why I was going for this. And maybe this is a bit more of an argument for a Spitfire or a combi rifle, but I'm still sticking to my theory that for this particular Delta, being able to have either the combi rifle, sorry, the boarding shotgun, or the Panzerfaust is definitely best. And mind you, the Panzerfaust definitely wouldn't have been the gun to use in this spot because I would have only had 1 dice rather than 2. But it is what it is. Okay. Gangbuster now moving around, and this is again a little bit of risk, and it's doubtful as to whether I should have been taking these risks, but Gangbuster now moving up to this spot because if he uses SMG against the Loot Guru, well, it's 3 dice on, I think, 9s or something like that, given that he's got cover. The Gangbuster, I believe, has Mimetism, I think. He does have Mimetism, so it makes him a little bit more likely to be able to take out this Loot Guru on that basis. Even though the Loot Guru will have cover, whereas the Delta wasn't up against cover. I think the Loot Guru is allowed to shoot at one of the mad traps. I believe they do provoke arrows, so this guy shoots the mad trap and kills it. But then, of course, the Gangbuster able to come into position and now fire at the Loot Guru here. So it's at medium range for SMG. Gangbuster, Killer Hacker, so BS12, medium range, -3 for cover, 9s on 3 dice. Loot Guru is BS12, +3, -3 for range, -3 for mimetism, 9 on 1 dice. So he's got a little bit of a better chance of doing it compared to the Gangbuster, right? And luckily it does indeed work out for our friendly Gangbuster, and he does get the kill, and the Loot Guru does go down. Then he is able to poke around the corner to the immobilized Chesture and shoots him. This is a very important play because, first of all, it takes away the free order that this Chesture is donating to the French army every turn, but secondarily, it's going to remove the points that he's adding to that zone, so my Gangbuster is going to be able to take that particular zone at the end of the turn, granting me an objective point. He then moves back behind here and sets up his mad trap inside of the building, so happy days. He's really in a good spot now. My opponent's turn 2, and he's looking pretty trash now because he's down to like 3 orders per group. So this is not great for French Ariadna, and they've already conceded a point on the zones to 012. Moving through here, setting up a mine, and then he's going to be dashing around, and by the way, he's dodging the mad trap as he comes in. And then he's going to be moving through to fire his boarding shotgun at our friendly Gangbuster. Gangbuster is able to fire back with the SMG, loses the shootout, but is able to guts around and stays alive in this zone, believe it or not. The Briscards are able to move up and form a link team. He has, by the way, spent his command tokens to merge all of his orders into a larger group. The Briscards now moving in, and they are heading towards this big container here. The Razor had previously gone back into TO Camo Marcus State, so he's moving the guys around in such a way that he's going to be able to sort of head out around here, form a bit of a triangular link team, and defend this objective in the middle, and he's hoping that I won't be able to get to it in my following turn, which is going to be my last turn. So here he is set up here, and although he moves this Briscard into line of sight of my my hacker, I decide not to respond because I know that the best he can do is try to discover me, and if he does that, he's run out of orders to shoot me, and if I shoot back at him, well, it's just going to be an assault pistol into the face with MSV1, and I don't really want that. Warcore also standing up to try and stun the Gangbuster. He does indeed stun the Gangbuster, and I kind of joked that maybe the Warcore should have been doing that first, because that would have made the Loot Guru's boarding shotgun attempt a lot easier, but this happens. Warcore stuns him, and that's it. Okay, so 012 final turn. The Lieutenant, feeling very courageous, pokes around the wall and goes for a shot at the enemy Briscard with heavy rocket launcher. My opponent commenting that the heavy rocket launcher is going to blow up the Lieutenant and the Lambda in one shot. And I was like, no, fuck it, you know, I just want the one order there, and I don't care if the Lambda dies. I'm way ahead on points anyway. I'm going to have the zone controlled by other troopers. It doesn't really matter. I just want to get my shot off against this guy without having to spend any of my normal orders. And this happens, you know. The combi rifle, good range, no cover, good ballistic skill, 15s on 3 dice, Briscard firing back with like, a couple of shots, and the combi rifle lands home, kills him. So well done to the Kappa Lieutenant. The rocket launcher, I believe, does destroy the Lambda, but you know, who cares? And game continues on. So that was quite a cool little play. In fact, I believe the Briscard may have whiffed the shots completely because the Doctor's now able to... Sorry, okay. No, that's not what happened. I always do this, don't I? I take the photos and then I move them back. So after we talked about it for a bit, I did decide to move the Lambda back around the corner and then spend the Lieutenant's order. So, okay, so I'm much more of a coward than I actually thought I was. There we go. Varangian now pushing out over here. What we did here is we... there is a mine, so let's just be careful about this. The mine is actually inside the building here and through the doorway. The Varangian's pushing out around here and is going to be moving out in such a way that he doesn't come into the actual line of sight area of effect of the mine. But he's going to be shot at by the Briscard at the back as he does so. So moving out and just throwing smoke grenade, failing it, throwing smoke grenade, and he just keeps doing it until he gets the smoke grenade down, but not before taking a hit and going dogged. So at some point he gets hit by something, he goes dogged, throws the smoke grenade out, and eventually lands it. And the point of doing that is to get into a spot where the Razor can just move through with Group 2's orders and press the button without having to take any face-to-face rolls, because that objective is very important to me. So Varangian is under the cloud at this point. He then, with his last few orders, goes for a spec fire through the middle, and we have a spec fire landing right here, and that is going to allow him to push around and just take this guy on with his SMG or his chain rifle, whatever he sees fit, and knock out another one of them as well, just reducing the enemy troopers to just one Briscard sitting around there. The mine also is detonated in the building. This is also important because we're going to be in a situation where the Razor is going to be moving towards this objective here. We don't want the Razor to be blown up by the mine. I'm pretty sure it could have got to the objective without taking the mine hit, as this laser demonstrates, but just to be on the safe side, I moved the Varangian over here to detonate this mine as well. So now we've taken out a couple of Briscards. The mine, the coast is clear. There is a smoke alleyway, and the Razor is able to move on to the objective, press the button, and succeed. So that's going to be 4 objective points to 4 in terms of the buttons. I can then move the Razor back around here and blast this guy in the face. Unfortunately for me, though, he does succeed with an engage attempt, which means that I don't get to kill him at the end of the game. And that's pretty much it. We've got a Walker over here just hanging out, and my opponent in the final turn, he's in retreat. He doesn't have any command tokens left. He can't move his models towards my models. I did a video about the retreat rule recently, and this is another game that shows, well, this mission is about moving guys into zones. It's about pressing buttons, so, you know, it's about mission completion. But going all out offensive and, you know, shooting your opponent to death, putting them into a retreat, half the time it's going to be a good thing anyway. So the fact that the retreat rule is there is not there to deter people from just doing killing, right? Of course, they're still focused on the mission, but if I'd had any opportunities whatsoever to kill more guys along the way, I would have taken them, right? It wouldn't have been a matter of my opponent just winning. Note that, of course, for my custom mission, I have removed the retreat rule. It's not applied. It's no quarter in Tactical Winnow. So we end up with a pretty convincing win to 0-12. He has picked up 4 objective points for the consoles. I've picked up 4 for my consoles. 3 out of the 4 game turns, where we were eligible to pick up points, I picked up points, so that's another 3 for me. There was a draw in one of the turns, so you get 0 from that. Neither of us got classifieds or HVTs. I did pick up the army kills, though, so it's 8 victory points for 0-12 and 4 for French Ariadna. So that was the game with 0-12 on the field. Hope you guys enjoyed that one. Whoa, face got real big there for a second. 0-12, really fun. Really enjoying painting the models. Their sectorial, the faction's a little bit bland. It is missing a few things, but we're going to be trying out some limited insertion lists soon. We're going to be getting Hippolyta on the table, some more Gamma play. I might crank out the Omega once the Beyond pack comes out. I might proxy the Zeta at some point. We're definitely going to be giving a lot of the combos a go. So stick around for that, guys. I've got another 0-12 game coming up tomorrow, probably posting the bat rep on Wednesday or Thursday, and we're probably going to talk some more about these army updates as well. So stick around, and thanks for watching.